Happy Friday. So I've got on here the some of the seasonality charts, which we haven't looked at for a while, and I think it just bears going over today, just with it being pretty much halfway through the month of July, and we do have OPEX, so option expiry on Friday today, and just wanted to bring your attention to both the technology sector relative to the S&P and then just the S&P in general. Quite similar, but there is a slight difference just in terms of where you may potentially see a little bit more of a choppy slash turbulence in the market. I still think obviously the trend is to the upside, as it normally is from January to the end of the year. But of course, within those weeks, within those months, there are going to be times where we do consolidate before going higher. And you can kind of see here, so the technology relative to the S&P, which is pretty much the QQQ, which is the Nasdaq, which is what we trade. You can kind of see July to August, a little bit more of a choppier going from the end of July into August, and then potentially midpoint of August coming back up, retesting those highs September time, and then I think Q4 onwards. If all else equal, we should see a continuation into the end of the year, typically what we see, right, on average. Same with the S&P 500, but obviously that starts a little bit later, and you can see that's on average November time, and this is a 20-year average, right? 20-year average and a 20-year average on both of these. So you can see S&P just a little bit more long-winded in terms of the consolidation before the next leg up. And again, very similar to the first Q. I always say, just like I say, the second week of the month and the fourth week of the month are the best days to trade, just like the the second and the fourth quarters of the year, okay? Second quarter, last quarter, right? Always the better times to trade, in my opinion. You pretty much have consolidation, well, you pretty much have base, rally, or consolidation, rally, whichever buzzword you want to call it. But I just think it's important to go over specifically today and specifically coming into the end of July, going into August, as you can see, S&P, and also the Qs as well. So just a quick overview on the seasonality and then moving over to the NQ. An interesting week, but at the same time, kind of a bit of a flat week for me. I think I'm probably down on my day trades this week. I'd have to add them all up. Maybe I think Wednesday, I may be up on the week with Wednesday's day. I haven't synced all of my accounts, so it's hard to know exactly what the amount is, but I will sync them on Saturday, just to see where we are. But in terms of a weekly point of view, we've obviously broke down the dailies mostly every day this week. And of course, the BX is still red. We're trying to turn green on that buying power. That momentum is trying to turn green. We will see if obviously that does pop and make a new high. So these are the extensions that we currently have, and they stem from obviously the traditional that went into extensions. And if we go down to the half an hour time frame, you can see how those daily draws have come into play. And you can see here is the current daily extension. And I'm just going to make this double thickness so you can see. So this is the daily draw that is currently in play, and that traded on Wednesday's session, on the RTH session. And the weekly, there's two weekly draws here. One of them which is pretty much drawing from last Monday's low, ETH low, to high of Tuesday last week, sorry. We came down to the 61 Wednesday this week, pierced it whilst touching the daily. So you can see this is a couple things in here. You've got your daily 38 support. We also traded the short not on Tuesday, but we did trade it on Wednesday. So you can see on Tuesday we traded a 61.8 short all the way to the full negative 100, which is in red line here. Just draw that again, which is this line here, this red line here. That 8 yard out of that level, we came back up into, which is what we shorted on Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday, which is we had that massive day on Wednesday. That was your full same anchor new low 50 short, and that went all the way to its completion at the 23. So very technical week. It's just been slightly harder to analyze in real time, for me anyway. 23 completion, set up the long, and that long traded, you'll see that long traded on the RTH session of Wednesday after the short. Traded the 50, never broke the 62. And as you can see, that went all the way to that full negative 100 yesterday. And yesterday's target, with that being the negative 100, that was also your ETH high of day, which is the purple dotted line or circles. And the white circles are your RTH, average true range high of day. And that is pretty much where we stuck, and we didn't really go any higher than that. The only thing I can really see today would be one of two things. It is going to be the extension high from this anchor, and that is going to give you support down here at the overnight lows at 20, call it 234s. Okay, so you may come down to this level here and bid. If you do, that would be a potential long setup into these extensions. And of course, ETH, RTH on the day is 490s, call it. And we still have 395 points left on the week if we are going to go full average true range on the week, which I don't think we will, because you would have to literally come all the way up to 23,800, which when the average true range is 180 points on the day, which is just insanely low, that puts you at coming up to basically call it 490s on the day. So 490s is potentially your high of day, but ideally that breaks if you are going to go up or if you are going to go down. Hopefully we trade more than 180 points today. Hopefully. But that is the range. So we have to just, again, trade the market we're in, not the market we want to be in. There's two kind of setups here. You either hold this high to high, which would be the most aggressive draw. If that does hold, which is 230s, you may be able to take a long above the RTH high, and hopefully at that point you're above the open price as well. And that will take you up into those targets. Any of these targets will be fine. Just remember where the average true range is on the day. If that setup fails, it would most likely be a continuation to the downside, which would make sense on these daily completions that we have. If we just go to the daily, you can see we've got so many daily completions in here, right? If I just zoom out, you can see there's 62 here. There's the same anchor new high, 23, and there's a 62 above us. But there is also all of these draws here as well. So if I put this on, you can see we're at that 23. So if you come down to the half an hour, you can see we are at that 23. This is a daily this is a daily long completion, and at the moment that is the high so far on the overnight session. So I see both sides. The week has been bullish, and we haven't actually broken trend at all week. So the only day we did kind of break it, but we closed above, was on Wednesday, and we ATR'd up. So if we are going to stay in trend, this high to high should hold. If it doesn't hold, I imagine this is where we would see something like this, and potentially we end up coming down to the RTH low of yesterday, which coincidentally lines up with the average true range ETH low of day. The RTH we won't know because the session hasn't opened, but once it does open, you'll know those levels. So it is really clean and simple today in terms of, I think this is one of, you either get the long on the high to high. If you don't get that, I just wouldn't touch it for a long, just purely because if you're going to complete these levels up at the high end of the ATRs, you're going to get another entry in here. So I wouldn't chase this to the long side. I would just let this come to you, because if you just come down here and then come back up, you're going to get another entry at or above the previous day high plus the open price. And you still have, even from the RTH high, you still have 200 points of magnitude to the upside. So what I'm trying to say is, do not chase any longs unless you're in, just like I marked yesterday. If you're in this area, trade the longs, right? Trade the longs if you're above and holding. If you're not and you're below that area, i.e., in this area here, sit on hands or trade the shorts, right? And it's as simple as that, in my humble opinion. So we'll leave it there. I will obviously jump on Discord and we'll trade live on stream. If you guys are watching this on YouTube and you want to jump onto the Discord, the website link is in the description. But other than that, guys, I'll keep it nice and short, and have a good Friday. Have a good rest of the week if you're not watching this as a member. And I will see you all on Monday. For everyone in the Discord, I will jump on there now.